over here, and I know it's out there, but man, I'm just so busy over on Facebook world. I just don't get a chance to touch Instagram or YouTube. But every now and then I get stuff on my mind and I want to put it out there. And I can't. There's three, four things that I teach the most besides networking and sales and stuff like that. Done. My biggest thing is, in trucking, there's different parts, and brokerage, there's different parts. But the craziest thing about dispatching, dispatching is like the key to success for both of those businesses. Because if you can't dispatch trucks, you can't move the freight. If you don't know how trucks move and how the freight runs, and then you're a broker that's in trouble. As a carrier, you have to learn how not to freight chase and build a product. And speaking of building products and freight chasing, I think there's a dilemma in most of the dispatch training and dispatching that's out there, especially with the new authorities starting, like special new authorities, because there's this dilemma where people can't do the dispatching themselves. The brokers won't use you in the first 90 days, and people don't build networks before they start. They wait till the very last minute to finally get on the load board and start calling. No, and then once we get out there, we just chase one good paying load to the next good paying load. Sometimes we pay a percentage to do it. Sometimes we don't. Owner operators are leased on and getting dictated. Dispatching is one of the most important parts of the job. Now, don't get me wrong. If you don't have compliance and safety and all that stuff in order, drug testing and everything else, and you don't have a structure in the front of the house, it's not going to do you no good on any kind of dispatching in the back of the house, because the product's not going to be um, sellable. Freight. There is no product to sell when you're freight chasing. When you're just chasing one load to the best, or you have a load booker that's charging you a percentage, and they're chasing one load for the best, and they're building their agenda. There's freight chasing, and then there's regional/dedicated style dispatching. And your whole goal is to build a network to be able to service people, duplicate their household income, and after truck, trailer, fuel, and insurance, and be able to help them survive on a consistent level, knowing that we're going to have good times and bad, but we need to be able to fine line it right through. So then we have to build a product and learn how to get off the load board. Well, freight chasing, you can't build a product because you can't save the fucking world. When you're freight chasing, you can't save it anyways. And freight chasing, you're never in one given spot. You're staying out a month at a time, or 2 or 3 weeks, and you take off a couple months to get to whatever you're doing. I don't know anything about that. I'm more like running the Midwest, or run the Southeast Midwest, run the Northeast Midwest Southeast, run the Texas to the Midwest, back to Texas, run California, Virginia, Nevada, Phoenix, maybe some of Utah, Oregon, Washington. And that corner there, like I'm all about regional running, building customers and relationships with brokers, with my carriers, and networking and all that stuff. And that's the kind of dispatching I like. I don't like the dispatching that's freight chasing. And freight chasing has a lot to do with the load boards, like DAT 123 load board and all that. And so that runs into a dilemma where there's this false market out there that everybody and their mom can just run out there and do dispatching, and from a 3-day class or a webinar or whatever the hell they're teaching you out there on filling up broker packets and all that. I mean, there's so much more to all the different levels, and the mouths to feed, and how much product you have to duplicate, and to make a living off these trucks. You imagine, think about it. A company truck might need $4,300 at the beginning of the week just to fill 7 days before it starts. It's just like knowing that, or what a guy, a one truck authority needs to survive, or an owner operator, so you can benefit and he can benefit, and you guys can keep duplicating your business and growing. That takes a lot of work. You don't just do that by freight chasing and sitting in front of load board. You got to build a network. You got to constantly do sales. You got to keep researching, and that's how you compete, and if you want to go from one truck to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 trucks, you have to be able to sell a product that you can repeat and duplicate over and over and over, not this whole promise this and promise that and not come through for anything. There's so much more to it. So, there's different types of dispatching. There's charging flat, there's percentages, there's all these different things going on. But you know, if I'm going to be a dispatcher for a carrier, man, I don't want to work for free. And if I'm a dispatcher for an owner operator, I don't want to work for free either. I mean, he could book his own loads or I could book them for him. But if I'm going to book him, I'm not wasting time, man. I should know my product well enough that I know I can make him a certain amount of money to where he doesn't want to question anything that I say. And he wants to go and do it and he's making that money, you know. The three things they want is to get home, be pre-planned ahead of time, all the time, and be home with mama or go home with mama on the weekends so they can see her. That's why they bought a truck and get paid on time, like they said, and be able to stay pre-planned, whether you're doing it or they're doing it themselves. Their goal is to always know what they're doing next. You know, we don't want that not to happen. And I see all these authorities and all these people jumping in, and I see them skipping a lot of the work that they're supposed to do before they start. You know, I'm talking about in the first 30 days that you need to do, you know, so you can help these guys grow and get bigger and do what they need to do. And I don't see that happening in this industry. I don't see a lot of it. Everybody has their own agenda of what they're doing. So make sure that if you're starting your business or starting a trucking company or starting a brokerage or dispatching for your carrier or vice versa, make sure you're learning more than just getting on the load boards, finding a driver, asking him what he wants, and going to the load board and trying to play games all day with brokers. That's not dispatching. There's so much more to it than that. And there's more to, and dispatching is not just booking loads. You know, dispatching is the operations of a company. Dispatching is very critical to your safety score, very critical to the way you keep your rates down on insurance and all kinds of stuff. And so it takes smarter person than just a load booker to do that because it's the operational side of it, you know. And I think there's a huge misconception to people from going to these classes and schools that are all promoted out here about booking loads and running a company. And you're going to say, well, I'm a dispatcher. I don't run your company, but you do. You're taking on somebody's livelihood and telling them what you could do with it to run it. Whether you think you're doing CSA scores or safety compliance or any of that stuff, you are, because the dispatcher dictates what that driver does, whether he's an owner operator or a carrier or what. So there's so much more involved than just booking loads. And I think that's the misconception. And if you and just relying on load boards to make you that 3,000 to 4,300 minimum before you ever even profit is a lot of risk and of not having a network. So as a one truck guy to a 5 or 10 or 15 truck guy, a dispatching changes again. So I don't know how your dispatching is going or how you're learning dispatching or what you're doing with your dispatching now or how your carrier's growing or if you're diversifying, adding owner operators and getting bigger and bigger or not. You know, I don't know if you're one of those guys that's fucking pissed because the world's coming to an end or whatever and you didn't have a plan and you still don't have a plan because you're one guy still flying by the seat of your pants, or you're one of these guys just because it was a little good, you had 3 or 4 or 5 trucks to your authority, and the next thing you know, it's bad and it's not much fun no more. You know, I don't know. You know, I don't know what you're doing, what part of the business you got. But anyways, this is Shaggy with Shaggy's Consulting and Training. You can find us on Facebook at Shaggy's Consulting and Training. You can find us on Shaggy's Consulting and Training Group. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us all over the place. I mean, hell, just go look and read the reviews. But we're here for you. If you're a trucking company, a broker, or you want to learn dispatching and you want to take your company to the next level or fix the one you have, and maybe there's some hope, we have a whole team of partners from compliance to safety to setting up the authorities to insurance to fuel cards to roadside service, lawyer services, you know, a whole network through the TAP program that's there for you guys. And it's freaking awesome, you know. To have all this kind of training and all this knowledge all wrapped around one group. You know, Shaggy's Consulting Training and the TAP affiliate program. Those partners in that program are just phenomenal. You know, they're all about you taking your trucking company to the next level. You know, so check us out. Peace out. Later, guys.